If you're interested in writing 52 stories in these 52 weeks of 2022, if you're interested in not writing alone anymore, then stay tuned for this video where I'll explain what Stop Writing Alone has in store for the year ahead, and I share the first writing prompt of the year. Hey everybody, it's me, Nicole Rivera from the Stop Writing Alone podcast, and here on the MV Rivera YouTube channel to share writing prompts and inspiration with you all year long. And on that note of all year long, I would like to say a very belated Happy New Year to everybody out there. I apologize for going radio silent for the end of 2021 and missing the celebration of the beginning of 2022. But if you've been following along in Stop Writing Alone channels on Facebook and Instagram, or if you've been subscribed to the Stop Writing Alone email newsletter, then you know that my entire family, including myself, came down with the COVID for the Christmas holidays. Luckily, we are all vaccinated, including my son. My husband even had the booster, so it wasn't hospitalizations, thank God, or anything like that. But as you can hear, even though I am testing negative and outside of the quarantine window, I still have no real voice, which is great for a podcaster. I'm loving that. I'm absolutely loving this. But I'm here anyway because one of the things that I've been so excited about for this year was that I was going to take on the challenge again of 52 stories in 52 weeks. Hilarity ensues. I'm 1 week behind already, but that's okay. We're going to make it all up this week, and we're going to move forth in community. So I have a number of plans of things that I want to do with you so that we are not writing alone this year, but they're all off to an incredibly slow start. I had set aside time at the end of 2021 particularly for planning and creating spaces for 2022, and they all got gobbled up. So I'm literally starting the planning and building right now. However, I didn't want to let another week pass by without coming here on the YouTube channel for the simplest rollout of 2022, which is a return to that 52-week challenge that I did back in 2020. So I'm doing a whole podcast episode on this as well, just explaining to the listeners why this has been so important to me. But back in 2020, I reread that quote from Ray Bradbury about taking on the challenge of writing 52 stories in 52 weeks. And the beauty in it is that he says, they're not all going to be great, but some may be. And by the time you get to like week 30 or week 40, you're going to see improvement. And I had taken on that challenge before. I had heard of that before, but I had never actually completed it. It was showing up here on the YouTube channel and doing it within community, because 2020 was also the year that I launched the Stop Writing Alone Happy Campers Writing Intensive. I finally had the community around me to support me, to make sure that I stuck to my goals, but that challenge of showing up to my writing in short spaces every single week for an entire year has changed my writing dramatically. Now, I can't separate the two. Was it just the writing of the stories, or was it being in community? I don't know. But I will say that these are some of the things that I've noticed. One, I got loads more practice in finishing story. I started my journey as a writer really wanting to be a novelist, and I've written at least 3 or 4 complete novel-length pieces. And when I was doing the last one, I got near the end again and was feeling like I have no idea what's going on here. Like, I have no practice in this, and I just need more practice in endings. And the only way I get practice in endings is writing these long things, and then I get to the ending and I feel like a pre-K student in a college course. Like, I've had all this practice with beginning stories, getting my middle down, and really understanding all of those things. My voice, particularly because I've always been writing YA, I've always had a sort of good matching voice for that, character development, all those things. I was getting practice, but I wasn't getting enough practice with endings. Fast forward to 2020, where I take on this challenge, and all of a sudden now I am ending stories every single week. So I'm getting more and more practice with how to approach an ending, how to make sure I'm tying up all the loose ends of my stories, how to begin with ending in mind. It's really been quite wonderful. I'm always a big fan of that idea of 10,000 hours of mastery. You know, it takes us 10,000 hours of doing something before we master it. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I just wasn't getting the time in when it came to endings until I did this challenge. The other thing that I got a lot of practice in was revision. I hated revision. I was terrified of revision. It just seemed like this big behemoth because I had these big, long works, and to revise them was like I had to go through the 70-something thousand words, the 80,000 words over and over again. With short story, it's, you know, depending if you're doing Flash is like the greatest practice in the world for revision. If you want to really get into learning how to revise, you give yourself some Flash projects to really, really run through the mill, and you're going to get a lot of new insight into your revision process. So here I had a whole year of 52 stories where I was revising them. Not all the time. Sometimes I would write a story and say, okay, that was fun, and I don't think it has legs to move beyond here. But other times I would tinker with it and enhance it and find ways that I could use the power of revision, which is this whole other writing superpower, to make it exactly the story that I wanted it to be. So as I went through 2021, not taking on this challenge again, trying instead to just find homes for my stories, I felt the lack. I was like, I want to get back to this, number one. And number two, I want other writers to have this experience. So we're back this year on this channel doing just that. I'm going to come every single week. I mean, I did that last year for you as well. So perhaps you've already done the 52 stories in 52 weeks. But there's that other piece that I unintentionally paired with my challenge in 2020 of community that I do want to bring to the community this year. So for here on the YouTube channel, I'm still going to be coming to you every single week with a new writing prompt so that you can write your story for that week. And that could be it. If that's been serving you and that's been working for you, I'm here for it. And I would love to hear from you in the comments or anywhere that you can find me. I'm all over the place. However, what I would love to do now is have an added component of community with that. And so it's not happening this week. It's probably not happening this month. I am going to be continuing to make sure I lay the groundwork for everything moving forth. But I have set up a Stop Writing Alone network over on Mighty Networks, which is basically a community building space. And just an aside, if you haven't been listening to the podcast, you will not have known this, but I am trying to step away from all things metaverse. I love to use social media for exactly that, like my social connection. That's the way I was introduced to it. That's what makes sense to me. But I do not like working for Mark Zuckerberg. So I do not want to have the Stop Writing Alone community and space that is serving you to be connected to a company I just don't really feel that comfortable with supporting. And I don't want to have people feel like if they want to be a part of this Stop Writing Alone community, they have to enter into those spaces if they're not comfortable with them. However, what do we all love about those spaces? They're ways for us to connect with our community, whether we live, right next door to each other or across the world. And it's constant. You can constantly have it. You can have a chat whenever you want to. You can share your work if you want to. You can share images or well, like I said, your work, your writing. So Mighty Networks is that, it has the same sort of capabilities. And essentially, instead of being a part of that whole space, you'll just be in a Stop Writing Alone network because I'm paying to take away all of the ads, the data mining, and all of that. So what is going to be coming this year? And I'm looking at a soft launch mid-February and a grand opening March, is the Stop Writing Alone network, which is free to everyone, and then a private community for anybody who wants to get really intense with the 52 weeks moving forth from that date. And what's going to happen in that 52 weeks network is weekly writing prompt parties, which you've seen here on the YouTube channel. But if you haven't watched them, it's basically me showing up here live for you with a writing prompt in community, whoever can show up at the live time. We chat a bit, we get to know each other, and then we share the prompt. I set a timer, we write, and then we read. We read aloud our stories to each other within community. If you just show up to that every single week, you're getting your story a week. You can then do with it what you want if you want to take on that revising challenge and, and then submit it somewhere or whatever you want to do with it. That's up to you. However, just having that type of support and community and voice, really giving voice to your stories on a regular basis will build your confidence in ways that you cannot imagine, but also expand your imagination as you start to hear the stories that other writers are coming to these prompts with. I don't think there is a thing that I do with Happy Campers or Stop Writing Alone that is singularly so powerful than the writing prompt parties. They're really, really simple, but the writer growth that happens within is incredible to me. So I said to myself, how can I support somebody that wants to take on this challenge? I think it's just showing up in that way on a weekly basis. Now, embedding that within the Stop Writing Alone network then means that you would have the support of all the people that are signed up at the same time to discuss what happened in the meeting during the week, to share your work, potentially to have reading exchanges, anything it is that you want to do with your fellow writers. I mean, those relationships sort of develop as they go. In addition, anytime I have a writing community with a Zoom component, I always give the community members access to a Zoom room throughout the month so that they can then create their own write-ins at any time. And I'm sure I will be hosting write-ins within there as well because I need to show up and write, and I like to do it in community. So there you have it. Those are the big offers that I have coming down the pike for 52 stories in 52 weeks. Happy Campers will still be back this year. And if you are unfamiliar with the Happy Campers model, it's basically a writing intensive of 2 months of 5 days a week of live Zoom calls within the writing community where each day is a theme, right? So Monday of every week is our goal setting and accountability. Tuesday is a day of loads of write-ins. Wednesday is our coffee chat, casual chat that seems silly, but is so powerful when you just get together and talk with fellow writers. Thursday depends on the season. In the spring, we usually tackle our critiquing and have critique partnerships and groups go on every Thursday night. And in the fall, we do brainstorming because many people are drafting for NaNoWriMo. We do different types of brainstorming and looking at story structure. And Friday if you're in Happy Campers, every single week is a writing prompt party. So that'll be back this spring for March and April, and then again in the fall for October and November. I always want to say September. October and November. That's a separate thing. I wanted to have some connective tissue in between the Happy Campers Club, because what happens is Happy Campers Club is amazing, and you really get a lot of community, connection, growth, writing, critique, like brains explode. But so it's not sustainable, right? Because it's a lot to do. That's why I call it an intensive, but it's not something that can be done all year round. Not if you have anything else going on in your life, right? If you're trying to show up for your job or your family or just be social, you need more days to be flexible. So we have the Happy Campers for those 2 times a year that, if you didn't realize, they're sort of like hinged to NaNoWriMo events. April is Camp NaNoWriMo. So we use March as like prep. And then if you want to take on that April challenge or any of the other writing challenges that happen in April, that's hinged together. And the October-November is hinged to the NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. So I'm hoping that the Stop Writing Alone network, the 52-week program, will be some nice connective tissue in between to have these writing prompt parties once a week. And then you don't feel like you've been through this big thing of Happy Campers and then what? Then crickets until the next time. I need some support in between. There is going to be more coming through the Stop Writing Alone network, but that was the number one thing that I wanted to explain to you, particularly here on the YouTube channel, since it is connected to the 52 prompts challenge that I do every year, since I come here every Friday with prompts. So potentially, by the way, if you were in the network, you would be able to do more than 52 stories, because the writing prompt party would be one prompt, and then the YouTube would have another one for you. Just food for thought. But that's what I wanted to sort of bring to you and let you know where I'm at, why everything is taking so long. But it's all coming, and it's all coming very soon. But today I want to start you with your first writing prompt, and I'm trying to decide if I should do that in a separate video. No, I'm going to put it in this video, and then I'll make another video that's prompt only also. So let's grab one of my prompt tools off of my shelf, and we're just going to go pretty classic today because, like I said, the voice is one thing with the COVID. I'm still not 100%. I'm a little annoyed about this. I don't feel great. So it's been slow start to this year. So if you've been here for this whole video, thank you for tuning in. And if you are here just for the prompt only, I get it. You don't want to hear me yammer on. You just want to write. I get it, and we don't have time to waste. So I missed a week last week because of COVID. And now we are in week 2 of 2022. And if we wanted to do 52 stories in 52 weeks, that means we need 2 prompts. So here's what's happening. I'm going to give you a prompt right now, but tonight I am getting a prompt from NYC Midnight for the Short Story Challenge. I've signed up again, and so at midnight I will be getting a prompt that I need to write a story this weekend. I am going to share my prompt with you this weekend as well. So this will be our prompt for right now. Another one coming very soon. Like I said, I receive it at Friday on the 14th at midnight. Well, I guess that would be the 15th. Whatever it is. You'll see the next video if you've come late. If you come here on time, it's coming very, very soon. But for now, we're going to do something real simple from my Storymatic box. Storymatic, if this is your first time here on the MV Rivera YouTube channel, perhaps you've never heard of this. It's possible. If you've been around, you're like, oh my goodness, again? Yes, again, because look how many cards there are. We always have lots of different choices. So, Storymatic is a card game that is created specifically for story makers and us writers. So what the rules are, very simply, is you draw 2 gold cards and you combine them to create a character, and then you draw 2 copper cards and let them lead you into story. It's very, very simple. The cards are just laid out here, but it is also amazing the kinds of stories that it leads you to. If you have Storymatic, you know that there's this booklet that comes with all different types of variations of the game. We've played here on the YouTube channel XYZ, where you pick cards and say that X is in conflict with Y over Z. I love that game, but that's not the only one. There's lots of different games in here. The only thing is that Mr. Brian Mooney, the creator of this game, does have 2 pretty strict rules for anyone that takes on story. And these rules are just there to serve us as writers, to make sure that we don't use our creativity to sort of cheat our way out of a cool challenge. So the 2 laws of the Storymatic: number 1, your main character must change from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And number 2, do not kill your main character. I swear, if I had seen this rule before I ever did prompts, I would say, why does he say that? But in the Staten Island Writers Group, whenever we did a round robin writing challenge, somebody would kill the main character. And I was like, that's cheating. So I was very happy when I saw that rule. I'm like, that's right. Don't kill the main character. Okay, here come your 2 gold cards to create your first character of 2022. Who am I kidding? You've been writing. I know this. My first character of 2022? Let's be real. Okay. Gold card number 1. Cowboy. Interesting. Oh. Grandparent. So we're combining these 2 to be our character. So we have a cowboy grandparent, or grandparent cowboy. And now our 2 copper cards that will get us into story. I'm just trying to go randomly here. A bounce check. And a large wild animal. Well, this is going to be an interesting story. I would love to see what... I'm almost wishing this was a writing prompt party. I would love to hear right now what people come up with for this. We have a cowboy grandparent cowboy, a bounce check, large wild animal. I'm not going to give you any word counts. I'm not going to give you any sort of limitations. This is your first story of the year from me, so I want you to just feel free to do whatever comes to mind. Even though I set rules and parameters sometimes from week to week, this is all just to help you start writing. So if you need to break the rules, if you need to use one of the 3 cards, there's 4. What's wrong with me? I can't count. If you need to use less cards, if you need to switch it up, if something else happens, if you forget to use one of the things, nothing is wrong here as long as you are writing a story. So, and by story, let me just reach out to all of my writers out there. That can also mean writing a poem, writing a song, writing anything. If this gets you writing, you're doing it right. That's all. So I will be back later on, either today or tomorrow morning, with the prompt that I received from NYC Midnight. This way we have our second prompt of the year, I guess. But this is the first of our 52 prompts for 52 weeks, because if you could write 52 stories in these 52 weeks ahead of us, I promise you, Ray Bradbury was not lying. I am a much better writer since that process in 2020. And you can be too. And I expect to be at the end of this year. It just is going to continue helping us grow. So happy writing. Thank you for tuning in. For anybody that's here on the long video, thank you for tuning in for the whole thing. And even anybody that just came for the prompt, thank you for tuning in. There's so much out there for you to choose, and you chose me. Happy New Year. I'll talk to you again soon. Happy writing. It's time to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss another video, and stop writing alone by joining the Mighty Network's Stop Writing Alone network to find your writing peeps today. Also, let's not forget where this all started in the Stop Writing Alone podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts, including this YouTube channel. One more reason to subscribe now.